Hey, ladies and gents, welcome to the Controlled Interest Gamecast, where we talk about video games and everything happening in the industry. As always, I'm joined by Dom.
I'm back.
Jordan.
Athena!
And first-time guest, Chris Nunes. How's it going, Chris?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good. Chris is somebody I've wanted to have on the show for a long time. Finally being able to get him on, took long enough. But, you're now in the pantheon of celebrated Controlled Interest guests, so...
I feel honored.
Yeah, thank you. So episode 94, like Dom said, he's good to be back. We didn't have him on last week. The crew's finally back. For you probably don't know this, Chris, but we were on a hiatus there for a bit because I was experiencing internet issues. And then before that, Jordan was busy, so it's the first time in a while all three of us have been back. So the boys are back in town.
The boys are back.
Yeah.
The boys are back.
That being said, let's get into what we've been playing. So for me, it was... kind of a slow week. I was busy. I wasn't really at home a lot this week, to be quite honest. Thankfully, I have mobile gaming. So I played a lot more of Ultra Moon. Last week I talked about jumping into it, Dom and Chris. I was talking with Jordan about it.
Oh, I heard.
I was getting that Pokemon itch.
I listened.
Yeah, I was getting that Pokemon itch, and I was telling Jordan that out of I've played every Pokemon mainline game except for X and Y, and it's been my least favorite Pokemon. I'm still enjoying it, but I just don't like the stop-start of the story and everything, and just like it seems to get interrupted too much. It's not as free-flowing, but there's a lot of ideas in it that I really like. The fact that it's not like traditional gym leaders, and there's a lot of like weird things that haven't really been in Pokemon before, like the Mantine surfing sections and stuff like that, which I think were new to the Ultra versions of the games. Other than that, I played a little bit more of Wolfenstein 2, not enough to get to the point where last week I mentioned I'm not talking about it till I finish it, because Dom and I are supposed to have a conversation about it. Like I said, I didn't have internet, so I wasn't able to play it, because without going into it, Chris, I have this weird thing with my achievements in my account that when I don't have the internet, last time it happened when I was trying to get achievements, it like deactivated my account and I had to start a whole new Xbox account.
Oh, jeez.
That was like a long time ago.
That sounds like
it's kind of like a.
That sounds like something that would happen on PlayStation.
Yeah, it's kind of a fear I've had. It happened like in 2007, so I lost my Xbox Live account from the original Xbox, and I had to restart a new one, which sucks. So it's kind of like a fear I have. On a side tangent, it's like when I was little, I ate lasagna and got sick afterwards, and not from the lasagna, I was just sick with like the cold or the flu. So for like 6 years, I didn't like lasagna, just because like I had the memory of me being sick.
Oh, man.
But I like lasagna, so it's like, yeah, I got over that. Anyways.
Okay, we're good. We're good on lasagna.
Anyways, yeah. The other game I've been playing, I'm not a fan of mobile games, Chris. I actually kind of dislike most of them, if not a lot of them.
Sure.
The only mobile games I've kind of gotten into were Fire Emblem. I'm forgetting the name. I want to say Warriors, but that's the Tecmo game. What is it called? Fire Emblem Heroes, yeah. So I got into that for a while. Obviously fell out pretty hard, but I really enjoyed that game. And then I played DC Legends, which I don't know if you're familiar with. It's like a turn-based combat game where you unlock DC heroes and villains. Marvel recently released their version of it called Marvel Strike Force. Has a lot of features in it that it does better than DC Legends in my opinion, but the one it doesn't do is that in DC Legends you can go to your roster and set multiple teams before you start missions and stuff. Marvel Strike Force doesn't have that, so it's kind of like cumbersome, and you have to like reset your team every time. It's a cool time waster. I don't think they're fantastic by any means, but being able to go in there and just like mess with Marvel heroes is really cool. They launched an event today, the day of recording this, on Thursday, April 19th. That's Infinity War based. So like you fight Thanos and you like unlock stuff related to Infinity War. Really cool time waster. Having fun with that. They have a ton of like non-important characters. Like they have Kree side soldiers and like weird shield characters that you've probably never heard of, even if you watch Agents of shield. Like some really deep Marvel cuts in there, which is pretty cool, because you'd assume it's just like a lot of the main guys, but they throw in a lot of weird references, so that's cool. Other than that, I've been continuing my MCU rewatch. Finished Captain America Civil War yesterday. Love that movie.
Nice.
I'm personally going through and ranking them as I watch them, and right now it sits as my number one favorite MCU movie through my rewatch. Really like it a lot. And then I've still been reading comics on Volume 2 of All New Wolverine, and I downloaded... I already owned the complete Vision series, the where he has a family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I recently downloaded it. I haven't jumped into it yet, but I have it on my iPad, so I'm going to be getting into that too. It's pretty much it for me as far as I can think. Probably watch some movies and stuff on the side, but can't think of anything that was memorable off the top of my head.
Jared, Winter Soldier versus Civil War.
Winter Soldier's number 2 on my list.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Obviously, you said Civil War's number 1, but how close are they?
It's like splitting hairs, man. Like catch me on a different day, and I'll say Winter Soldier's number 1. Like I really love.
Yeah.
And I think for me personally, those two are like far and away my favorites so far in my rewatch. The third is Guardians, and though I do love Guardians a lot, Winter Soldier and Civil War are in their own echelon for me through my rewatch. But it's just my opinion.
So I'll just hop right into it since we're on the MCU. I rewatched Guardians Volume 2.
Haven't gotten there yet. Yeah.
It's so good.
My
so
gosh,
good.
I love this movie so much, and I love Cap 2 and 3, and then Guardians 1 and 2 are my favorite MCU movies, and all of them that I didn't rewatch the original Guardians because I've seen it so many times already, but the other 3 I've rewatched just recently, and all 3 of them I liked even more the second time watching them, but especially Guardians 2 because there's just so much to appreciate there. Not that there isn't in the other movies, but Guardians 2 is just so well made, and I mean James Gunn is like a master filmmaker in so many different ways, and he really shows off his talent in both writing and directing. So, I mean, the comedy is just on point. I was cracking up laughing the whole way through, even though I know all the jokes. And then, of course, the action is great. The reason I liked it better this time is because the first time I was pretty thrown off and turned off by the part where Kurt Russell and Chris Pratt are fighting, and they like come together and they do the Pac-Man thing, and it just totally looks like, well, it's because they were on a wire, just like flying through the air, and I just really didn't like it, and then that kind of like soured me on the whole Kurt Russell thing, but now I see that was just kind of one shitty part of the movie, and I'm able to appreciate the whole a lot more. So that might be above Cap 2 and 3 for my favorite MCU movie. I also rewatched Doctor Strange recently and liked that a lot. I was telling one of my friends that the hand signals that they do in Doctor Strange really put Scarlet Witch to shame, because she's basically just like wiggling her fingers in the air, but you can tell in Doctor Strange that they were very
choreographed,
and they were like focusing like on deliberate, it because they have like a really specific, deliberate kind of characteristics about them. So I really enjoyed that too, and I just love the trippy stuff. So obviously Doctor Strange and Guardians movies are up there for me.
You're right. It's like it looks like it's a discipline for them. Like, it's really cool.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you can just tell that there was somebody on set like talking them through that, or at least somebody that they consulted at some point. And I feel like with Scarlet Witch, it was like, just like wave your hands in the air and shit.
Well,
like, it'll be
the
cool.
thing with her, she's supposed to be like a weird like kid with powers that doesn't know what to do. So it's like she's like, oh, I have these weird powers. Let me look spooky. It's like, ooh, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it just looks a little like, once you've seen the movie already and you're rewatching it, and especially if someone's brought that up to you, it really sticks out. And she does look goofy as fuck in both Age of Ultron and Civil War. But anyways, besides that, I've also been reading a bunch of comics still, and Jared and I were talking about I was putting together a bunch of the most recent Marvel comics. So leading into Marvel now from several years ago, there's Avengers versus X-Men, and kind of the starting point for that is Wolverine in the X-Men the series, where Wolverine is taking over, he's like the headmaster of the new school that they start, the Jean Grey school, and it's pretty cool, man. It's kind of in some ways gets back to like the roots of the X-Men and kind of the teenagers with superpowers and the quirky high school thing, but you have kind of a whole new generation with like Kid Omega and Kid Gladiator and a whole bunch of others. So I'm enjoying that quite a bit, and didn't really play a whole lot this week. But of course we've got a big one coming up.
Oh man, yes we do.
Actually later on tonight. So yeah.
You'll be playing it by the time
That's
this
about it
podcast posts. Think about that. You'll be playing
There
it in
you
like
fucking go.
well, not 7 hours for you. 6 hours for you? No, 7 hours.
It is 5 hours for me.
Awesome. Dom or Chris, want to go?
You go ahead, Chris.
All right. So I didn't have my wife or kids this week, so I got to do a bunch of stuff. I saw A Quiet Place, I saw Ready Player One, and I saw Black Panther.
Nice.
So I saw all 3 movies this weekend.
For the first time?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I just hadn't had a chance to see Black Panther. It was just a matter of timing, like not a matter of me like not wanting to go see it. So.
Oh yeah.
But like as far as you guys were talking about the MCU, I would still put Winter Soldier above Black Panther. By far, Winter Soldier is my favorite of the Marvel series. I just think it just stands out as how every other individual Marvel movie should be after it. So it just kind of defines, and then every movie after that I think just gets better and better. I've been reading Last Shot, so the Lando and Han book. Just started that.
Cool.
Nice.
In anticipation of a solo movie, because I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. And as far as
How is it?
it's not bad. There's some stuff that's going to be part of the solo film, but it's more of like a younger Han and like a younger Lando, and so
Like kid age?
no, like maybe like 2 to 3 years. Like it jumps forward to like Han 3 years before like A New Hope, and then it comes back again. Like it kind of keeps jumping in the timeline, so you get like different aspects of it. So it feeds into the fact that like the solo movie where they said it was like a 10-year before A New Hope, I would guess it's more like 7 or 6. So it might be closer.
Okay.
And a couple of things in the book I won't spoil, but it gives you some information about the movie. It's very little, just little bits and pieces, which I thought was kind of cool.
Who's the author on that?
I'm looking at it because I don't have it on my book is sitting like at my office. It's Daniel Jose Older. I was nervous about it because I wasn't sure, but I've read the Leia storyline and some other books, and they're really good about just kind of depicting and giving you really clear visions and pictures of where or what happened in the timeline, which I really like. There's a lot of backstory in the Leia book itself. That talks about Han leaving, talks about Kylo as a kid and how he found out, who he was and that sort of stuff. So a lot of that backstory is awesome, and I wish they would kind of promote it a little bit more than they do.
Yeah, I agree, because the most recent issue of Poe Dameron's comic that came out yesterday is him telling Finn and Rey what happened to him after he got separated from Finn on Jakku. And so basically, kind of in agreement with what you're saying, I feel honestly like the book and comic writers have to pick up a lot of the slack that kind of gets dropped in the movies, especially in my opinion with Last Jedi. So in some ways I feel bad for those guys, but in other ways it's cool that they get
opportunity
to play around with that stuff. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, they've got to play between like these kind of lines, but whatever they do inside those lines, they have the rules. They already know what the rules are, so that they can kind of make it as however they want to. Kind of like with Gary Whitta talking about making up what that force connection was between Rey and Ren was like. He just made up a word. He was like, that's what it's going to be. And because I have the licensure to do it. So
that's crazy.
That's kind of cool.
Just make it up.
What is that word? What is it called?
Now I'm trying to think of I'm blanking on it. It was a force something. I can't remember. Like it was like some version of a force connection. I can't remember what it was. But he had on Twitter. He was like, I just made that up, and so that's canon now. Like it's because like it has to be because he was rewriting he's rewriting the comic for the Last Jedi. So.
The adaptation.
Cool. So he had to make up something. And as far as games are
crazy.
concerned, all I played is Far Cry. Beat Far Cry 5 and went through that game just a little under 37 hours. Because I really didn't side mission a lot of stuff. Like I tried to mainline as much as I could. I didn't fish. I didn't really hunt. Money was just plentiful. And I left the game kind of bummed. Like I expected, I was told there's no real story there, and I'm like, oh, maybe there are bits and pieces. Maybe at the end you'll get something. I was super disappointed. Yeah, the end was disappointing. If you go in just like looking to blow crap up, that game's awesome. Like there's lots of like fun moments, but other than that, I wouldn't recommend it if somebody is looking for any version of the story.
Did you get because there's different endings.
Yes.
So did you get let me see.
I got the air quotes good ending.
Okay.
Dom, you do not have to worry about spoiling this. Shit
Okay.
for me,
I don't
'cause
know. I mean, it's
fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not wrong. It's kind of it's ridiculous and it's not good. Like story, it's just kind of fucking dumb. But
Yeah. I was some of and I kind of went in a weird order too because I took out Faith's region last.
Okay.
And I took Jacob out second, which I was just like, I'm just gonna go up in the mountains and go up there for a while. And like I said, I had a good time playing it. I mean, because it was kind of mindless and I didn't have to think a lot. The missions are very repetitive. Go in, take out an outpost, and keep talking to a person with an exclamation point until you get enough outposts that you can finally face whoever it is that you have to face. And that's that's pretty much how I played it. But that's literally the only thing I played because I knocked it out in I think 4 days.
I'll jump off that because that's pretty much what I've been playing too. I also beat it obviously, but in addition to all that, I think it's actually a step back from some of the other Far Cry games in a lot of ways. They took out. I mean, there's hunting, but it's way less meaningful. You just get money and perk points. It's not like where you have to hunt specific animals to craft specific things and so on. Like that whole system they used to have. Like I want a bigger, another weapon slot, so I got to go hunt a specific thing to make this backpack. That's the shit I used to love, but that's all entirely gone. Which was a bummer for me. I don't think you make
enough money from the pelts for it to matter because you're making money in other ways that is much more lucrative. And so when I see an animal run by, I'm like, I'm not chasing this motherfucker down like I used to. So
the other thing
I
that
totally
legit don't need money in this game. Like money is so plentiful that you don't even need to do anything to get money. It's everywhere.
The other thing that bummed me out was the perk system in general. There was 2 perks with different tiers that I wanted. I wanted to increase my health and then max out my weapon slots. And once I got those, and I could get them right away because you can get any perk you want right away. And that was it. The other stuff was completely useless.
Weird.
And
yeah, it's not a skill tree that you have to climb. It's just a skill box that you pick.
Pretty much all the other perks were just useless. I mean, you need one to get the wingsuit or whatever, and it's 1 point, and there's to swim faster, but it was just dumb. The progression was just non-existent to me. I don't know. That shit bummed me out. But the setting was awesome. I loved that. It was really cool. Everything they were doing. Lots of little jokes and certain things. I don't want to that. You could spoil some stuff in that sense. It won't be as funny. I don't know. But little knocks on certain kinds of people or whatever. I'm sure you can guess. But yeah, the gameplay was fun. Albeit, repetitive, but flying helicopters and planes is really cool and blowing shit up. That's all good. That was all great. I had a ton of fun playing, and the story was all right, sure. The ending was at least unexpected, but it wasn't good. But yeah,
the shooting in that game doesn't feel fun. It doesn't feel good. There are so many other games. It feels very off. When I felt like I was shooting people, it's I was missing in places where I shouldn't have been missing. Where Destiny or Halo feels different. You'd think that because that game is mainly shooting and blowing stuff up, that they would get that gunplay down.
And it's always felt like that to me, the old Far Cry games as well. But yeah, they've not improved it. It's got that kind of imprecise thing to it. Where Call of Duty, and Destiny, you do exactly what you think you're gonna do, as far as your shooting controls and stuff, but. I don't know. It was still. I had a ton of fun with it, man. I can shit on it all day, but it was a lot of fun. So I'll leave it at that.
And at the end of the day, isn't that what really matters? I'm just kidding.
Well, that's what I told you guys. When I sent you guys a message, I love this game, even though it is not very good. If I was gonna give it a grade, I'm 6 or 7 out of 10, maybe. Kind of.
But you had fun, so that's cool.
But that's some stuff is hard to quantify, I guess, but I don't know. So
you can enjoy bad games.
Yeah,
perfectly fine.
Yeah,
nothing against it.
I mean, yeah, it's such a weird thing. That doesn't happen too often to me. Where usually if something's bad, I'm like, all right, I'll just tuck off. But this, I'm like still enjoying it.
I like Dude, Where's My Car, and that movie's awful. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say I loved Pacific Rim Uprising, and that movie didn't like change my life or anything like that. Stuff doesn't always have to be monumental, artistically and creatively. It could just be fucking cool, and I think that's kind of what. Far Cry is. I actually like the gunplay though. I'm surprised to hear you guys say that. I've really always enjoyed it, and a lot of times because and maybe this is why I have this opinion, but I don't play a whole lot of shooters, and so usually by the time a Far Cry comes around, I'm kind of ready to have a shooter, and that usually satisfies the itch for me. So.
Yeah, this was like a right place, right time game for me. Like God of War's coming out soon. There was nothing else in my backlog that I needed to play, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll play Far Cry. And so I'm in your boat. Like I didn't care for the game, but I had fun playing it.
No towers. I wanted towers, man. I want to unlock map with towers. Fuck me. That's what I wanted, and it wasn't there.
Yeah, I like that too. I think that gets a bad rap for Ubisoft games. Like, I actually, personally, I enjoy that part.
Yeah.
Because, like, that, like, accomplishing that, you unlock a certain section of the map. For me, I guess I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time, Chris, because I'm currently, obviously, trying to get through Wolfenstein 2, and I should have enough time that we can talk about it next week, Dom. And, like, I'm sitting here, like, I want to play Far Cry 5, but, like, I really like Wolfenstein 2, so why should I even get to that until I'm done with Wolfenstein 2? And then when that's done, it's like I don't think there will be a time for a while for me, and I don't know if there's ever going to be a time this year with the way games are releasing. Just for reference, Chris, I don't know if you know this, I don't own a PlayStation 4, not yet. I'm actually purchasing one for Spider-Man before Spider-Man later this year.
Awesome.
So I'm not excited for God of War. I'm excited for people to play God of War, but I can't play it. So I guess Far Cry 5 might be one of those games that I just pass by, ships in the night. But from what I'm hearing from you guys, that's okay. It's cool to hear you guys had fun, but it seems like it's something I have to...
It's not something you need. That I wouldn't really recommend it in that sense. Like, oh, you gotta play it.
I love Far Cry 3 and 4, but like for you saying it's a step back, and Chris saying that, like, it seems like I'm good. It's a nice pass for me.
Far Cry will be a great $30 game.
Oh yeah, sale game.
Yeah. I totally agree.
I do like the villains. I think for the most part they were pretty good. How you encounter them was completely fucking ridiculous. Frankly, I just got irritated with it.
It's one of the worst end boss fights I've ever faced in a game.
Yeah,
one of the
worst.
worst.
That last fight was dumb, but just like in each region, there's like 3 or 4 times where you actually encounter, the boss in that area, and it's just. The story or like the way that they get you to the boss is so dumb. Like, and I'll just go ahead and spoil it. In the first region, like, you just get captured, like 3 separate times when you hit enough.
Dumb, but I'm so excited for this story. What the hell?
And each time they don't kill you, you escape. Cutscene, rinse and repeat every single time. And then the other regions, it's like, oh, you're drugged, and they can kind of just choose when you get captured again at their own will or something. But then again, they don't kill you.
I've heard a lot of people.
It's extremely dumb. It's bad. Really.
Quick question: this one also had the trophy achievement where finishing it through like the side 10-minute thing, right? Like Far Cry 4 had. Doesn't it also have that?
Yeah, that's a Far Cry.
Yeah,
thing.
you can do that right at the beginning too.
Well, no, they introduced that in 4, right? I don't think that was a thing before 4. Cause I don't remember being able to do that in 3. I could be wrong though.
Well, it's a Far Cry thing now, Jared.
Sorry.
Well, other than Far Cry though, really quick. I had been playing some more Persona 4. I'm kind of getting sick of it, to be honest. I'm like, I think I got to be close to 30 hours, maybe 20-some hours. It's just...
So you're 25% in. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of part of it where I'm like, all right, here we go. And whereas...
Persona games are very repetitive.
Yeah, it was cool for a while, and I'm like, all right, I'm just want to like get through this dungeon and just, can get the story going, and like I'm just sick of it at this point.
Now, there is something to be said for the fact that that's originally a PS2 game, and back in the day on PS2, people would love to have games that extended that life, like Persona did, because you didn't have stuff coming out all the fucking time, and so some big meaty chunk, even if it was repetitive. A lot of people appreciated that.
That makes sense, but I'm at the point where I'm just putting it down. I don't know. I might.
Yeah, just walk away from it. That's fine. You put 30 hours into that game, man. That's more than enough. It's fine.
And it's part of me is I already put this much in. Like, I'm like almost halfway or a third. Like, I might as well just finish it. Like, but no, I'm not playing that fucking game with myself.
I've stopped needing to beat games to enjoy them. Like Far Cry is a great example. I haven't ever beat a Far Cry game, but I love Far Cry, like 3 and 4. Exactly. They're the stories, especially if that's not interesting to me, then it's like, I've played 30 plus hours of 3 and 4 and didn't finish them, but I got my worth out of it. So
it's a huge misnomer that you actually have to beat a game or to get through it to enjoy it, or even to have an opinion on it. I mean, you can have an opinion on a game with 10 hours into a game. You're just like, it isn't for me, but I get why other people like it. Or these are the things that I saw in my playtime.
Yeah,
and that even goes more so in open world games and huge JRPGs, because those are like padded for a purpose. It's like, it's fine to just walk away if you want to walk away.
So that's where I'm at with that. I gotta drop one last little bomb here. Is the past couple weekends I've started playing Fortnite with a buddy of mine, at his behest.
Interesting,
not mine.
I
don't know. It was fun for a round or two, I guess. I don't know.
But shit!
I thought we were about to have our own civil war, Dom. I'm glad you're on my side. This is awesome.
Well, it's not good. It's not even a game to me. Like, it's just kind of like a mode, and that literally is what it is, I guess. But I'm like, what is the appeal here? I don't understand it at all.
It's free to play. I think that's a huge thing. That's why it has the numbers it has, and it's exploded the way it has, is because it's free. And I think that's why you've recently seen the push by Microsoft to do the free weekends with PUBG. They're different games, obviously, but that's the reason why Fortnite's eating its lunch for the most part, is because its audience skews younger. Guess what younger people don't have? Expendable income. Yeah. So a free game obviously is going to blow up when people start jumping on it. I'm not a fan of it either. I don't like the building aspect of it. That's my main gripe with the game, is that in a Battle Royale, for me, it's about gunplay. And the moment you add in building mechanics, it kind of deviates away from gunplay being the main important factor. I also don't think the shooting in that game is very good. Yeah, the game is polished very nice, and it looks very good, and it runs fine. It's because it's made by Epic, who has the Unreal Engine, and it's also built in a game that took them 10 years to develop. Like, there's a reason that game runs the way it does. I like PUBG a lot more personally, but yeah, to answer your question, it's because it's free and it's easy to get into, and it's very casual. I'm not saying that in a diminutive way, but like, it's very easy to get in and get out, and it's not for the hardcore. Whereas PUBG, $30 price point, it's a little bit hardcore in its shooting mechanics, and it seems like there's a lot more strategy. I played both, so like, yeah, I lean more PUBG than Fortnite. I thought we were about to have a Tony Stark, Steve Rogers thing here, Dom. I was like, oh, where is this going?
I just the whole fan. I just don't like it. And this particular game it's just not good to me. I don't know.
Yeah, and
it's very Minecraftian. It's parents aren't afraid to let kids play this game because it doesn't come off as hardcore or as R-rated as PUBG does. So
cartoony.
It's very cartoony, and so kids are allowed to play it. Because I know plenty of parents that are like, yeah, my kid just sits in front and plays this game all the time, and it's like, it's still a gun game. You know what I mean? Like, but it doesn't appear that way.
Love the term Minecraftian. Never heard it before, but I'm digging it.
Yeah, I mean, if they were to see their kids playing PUBG, they're like, "Whoa, this is like a military shooter," you know. And the funny thing too is, like, there's this discussion happening where people think Battle Royale is a fad, and a lot of other people think that it's just going to be a game mode that's going to be attached to games the way Horde mode blew up, and then it became a game mode in games that was kind of deviated on. And maybe this Battle Royale isn't the one for you, but say a game comes along that you really like the gameplay of it, and then they happen to have a Battle Royale mode on the side, you might actually dig it, Dom. So, I'm glad to hear that Fortnite wasn't for you.
Multiplayer games in general,
yeah, I guess that's the thing too. I forgot about that. You're not. Neither of you guys are multiplayer guys, so
right.
You know.
Yeah.
Chris, what's your opinion? Did you play PUBG and Fortnite? Have you played those games?
I've played both. I enjoy PUBG a little bit more just because I like the thought process through it. Fortnite, I get the reason why people enjoy it so much is because it's a quick, fast game. So you can get in, get out, and when you die, you're back in immediately. Let's start playing again. Whereas PUBG, you could be spending 25 minutes to half an hour, not see a single soul, and then die 2 seconds later, and then all of a sudden all of the stuff that you've grabbed is completely gone. So I get it. I'm not really into battle royales. They're not really that interesting to me. I like multiplayer games. I just don't like the battle royale style. But I understand why people are into it and why it's such a draw right now.
Yeah. Well, for me, I only play battle royale with a squad. I don't like playing solo personally. I don't even really like duos that much. I like running in PUBG with 3 other friends and just trying to make it to the end, and we win pretty often. They show you your statistics and stuff, and I'm not trying to brag, but just to, like, the reason I'm enjoying it so much is that more than 65% of the time we finish in the top 10. So, like, we have consistent success, which leads to me enjoying the game more, right? So I'm going to enjoy a game more if I'm constantly winning at it. So I think that's why I've gotten so attached to PUBG. But I think Battle Royale is going to be one of those things that it's definitely hit or miss with people. And like you said, you're a multiplayer guy, and it still isn't for you. So it's fine. You know, everything isn't for everybody, and it's just the way it is.
Do you think it fills that Destiny niche for people about playing with other people and having a squad up and being able to, like, go through missions and stuff like that? That communication where, you know, you're talking and you're just, you know, BSing because you can do some mindless, you know, gunplay and stuff like that.
Not personally, no. For me, I think Monster Hunter was more so that. With PUBG, it's often the group I play with. We're strategy focused. We're often talking about, I have extra ammo for you. Hey, I found a gun. We're talking about the game. Whereas with Destiny, especially when
I'm on your 6,
when you're grinding story missions or playing in Crucible, sometimes you're just having the dumbest conversations of, like, you know, just dumb conversations. I don't need to bring up an example, but, you know, just very dumb conversations. So it doesn't really feel that need.
I've got
personally.
Quick question. Do you guys think that eventually, let's say, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 years from now, we'll be looking at Battle Royale as just another multiplayer game mode, like kill deathmatch or capture the flag, something
or
like that?
horde mode or zombies or something like that?
Right.
Yeah, I think that's what it'll be. I don't think we'll see games specifically cater to that. I think there will be a couple of unique circumstances, but I think it will eventually become a thing attached to sell bigger, more grander games and concepts. It'll be, our game has a battle royale attached, you know.
Because
pre-order
you
now.
do have to have a bigger map to do it.
Exactly. That's why we're going to get into it later in the news section. Call of Duty adopting battle royale is a lot different to me personally than Battlefield adopting it, and the struggles that each of those teams is going to face implementing that kind of system, and we'll get into that later. I could definitely see it being a game mode. Anything else, Dom? Really odd hearing you that you played Fortnite.
Yeah, well, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because it's the farthest thing from my kind of game, in pretty much every way. So I just had to talk about it. Like, here's what I think. It's probably not, like, valuable to most people, but
it's like me coming on the show and be like, guys, I marathon Dance Dance Revolution this weekend.
Right.
It's like the least Jared game ever.
Oh my God. You want to talk about making my day.
Yeah. Let's hop into the news here, though. Glad to see everybody had a lot of fun, you know, over the last week, or for Dom's case, 3 weeks?
Month, yeah.
4 weeks? Can't even at this point. So the first bit...
Yeah, thanks for showing up, Dom.
Thanks for finally showing up, Dom. Glad you decided to join. The first bit of news here is that Deadpool 2's director, David Leitch, I believe is the way you pronounce his name, has signed on to be the director for the Division movie that we heard about, I would say maybe a year and a half ago, maybe, 18 months. That is a year and a half.
Which is a year and a half.
For those of you who speak in baby age. Yeah, it's interesting. We already knew that Jake Gyllenhaal was attached to this project for a long time, and Jessica Chastain also recently signed on to star in the movie alongside him. It's going to be based on the story of the game, The Division, which is about, New York City and it being decimated by a virus and, like, snowfall. Another video game movie. The reason I want to talk about this is having a director is interesting. Deadpool 2, from the trailers we've seen, looks like it's going to be more of Deadpool 1, which is great. David Leitch looks like he's a suitable director for this project. With Tom Clancy's name behind this, and the type of catalog he has behind him, do you think that this has a good chance of succeeding as a video game movie or just as a Tom Clancy movie, The Division?
Depending on what you mean by succeeding, yeah.
Critically succeeding.
Yeah, it could be good.
I'm leery that this director's even going to stay with the project, but by the time that this actually goes to light, because he's already working on
the actors.
And he's working on The Rock with the Fast and the Furious that spin-off, and so that's a project that's already scheduled for late 2018, early 2019, and you're assuming he's going to have enough time in order to get to this afterwards, and they're going to push that maybe to late 2019, 2020. He might not even be on this project by the time this thing gets off the ground, or if the script even makes it. So this is very, very early stages. I would hope. It depends on what the script looks like. Gyllenhaal is really tied to the studio that's doing this, and he's the one who's strong-arming it to get this out. So it depends on how long he decides he really wants to do this. If he decides eventually, you know what, this is too much for me, this project could blow up in a second.
Yeah, the good thing is this isn't a DC movie or the Flash movie specifically, so there's a good chance he might actually stay on. You never know.
Damn.
Yeah, man, that Flash project, just seeing like a director is announced and then he's gone, and then announced and then he's gone. It's like, Jesus.
This Batman movie is just, it makes me furious because now I couldn't give a fuck less, and I should be all over it, but...
Yeah. Jordan, you were talking about before we started the show about Tom Clancy and how this movie kind of has the roots to be a lot different than video games before it.
Well, I don't think this should be a video game movie. I think this should be an adaptation of, Tom Clancy's novel or series of novels. I'm not sure which, but, clearly, like I was saying, I think Tom Clancy is a better storyteller than, these rando guys at Ubisoft. Not that they're bad, but I just didn't think that the game itself had like a compelling story at all, which is something that would have happened in the books. It's part of the story would have been him building the world and the scenario, and in the game world that's just like window dressing almost. So I would say, why aren't you just adapting the novel of this great author as opposed to adapting an adaptation? But who knows? Maybe they know something that I don't, and we'll see. I still think that we are several years away from a really solid video game movie, but who knows?
It's gonna take people who get into the position to direct these movies that understand that you don't need to try to force the video game's narrative into a movie structure, and they kind of, I mean? I think that's the issue. Is like a lot of times they get muddled with the message of like how to adapt this video game story, and video game stories are told differently because we interact with them. That's not how films are, and I think people are having issues with that, and that's why video game movies often fail to meet film standards because they're trying too much to be like their video game counterparts. It's very weird. There's
also, quick shout out to Jake Gyllenhaal's last video game adaptation, Prince of Persia.
Oh, God.
That one wasn't so great, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, Jesus. Not that... Him... Ugh. Prince of Persia, where's that been? God. Yeah. But, Chris, you do bring up some valid points. Don't get too attached because you don't even know if he's going to be a part of this movie. We'll see.
No, to your point, though, I think that the book, the After the Collapse book, the attachment book that went with The Division, I think would make a great jumping off point, because it had a lot of loose ideas that they weren't like all the way to the end, so they could easily kind of add different things to that and make it somebody retelling a story of how the collapse started, and that's how they could jump into The Division and then jump back out again with that character.
Yeah, and
so there is no novel called The Division.
No, the After the Collapse, I got the book, and what it is basically somebody's sketchbook, like a notes, and they were writing notes day by day, and it's matched by color, and it's almost like a paint by number, like you're going through that, and if you see the pencil in red, it kind of means it was on this day, but it doesn't specifically tell you it's that day. You just have to kind of read the book to get that idea.
Oh, World War Z-esque. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool, and some of my friends who are really in with the Division group did a podcast on it, and there's a lot of information there. There's a lot to dig into if somebody wants to do so.
Yeah.
So did he come up with the concept of the Division itself, like the group of people within that world that are going out and try to fix...
No, they own the Tom Clancy name, and they can brand it on... obviously they have to pass it through certain things, but they can brand it on things.
So you have read the book, and they don't mention the Division at all.
The Collapse book is it's about the Division. It's about what happened in that storyline, but it's from a different person's perspective. It's about the original person in the collapse, like how that occurred and what she went through over that period of time. Okay. But it's through like notes. It's like, hey, day one, I met this person, blah blah blah. So it kind of goes that way.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
Yeah, see, that's like something that would be cool to adapt.
Yes.
Yeah.
But who knows?
So the next news story here isn't a news story at all. It's simply an exchange of tweets. Earlier this week, actually the day after we recorded last week's episode 93, Ryan McCaffrey, IGN Zone, tweeted out stating, and this was after all of the reviews came out for God of War, all of the tremendous reviews. He tweeted out, Xbox fans are dying to celebrate a masterpiece level exclusive like God of War. Thing is, though, it took Sony 10 years to get to this point where their first party is firing on all cylinders. This work started in PS3 era. Xbox might get there, but it's going to take a long time. And obviously he made a reply there saying, hey, fanboys, you're taking this tweet wrong, calm down. But then Phil Spencer actually replied, Xbox P3 himself, and he stated, our hardware took time, our service platform backwards compatibility took time, and continuing to grow our first party will take time. A high quality and diverse first party, yes, with single player, built the right way is our goal and what our customers deserve. We can have similar results to what we've seen in our hardware and our platform. So he's basically replying like, yeah, it has been taking time. People who thought this was going to happen overnight were crazy. I want to talk about this because, like always, we always talk about Phil Spencer being open and candid and willing to reply and talk about this stuff. This wasn't what the previous regime would have ever done, and the reason Xbox is seeing the success it has been is because of Phil Spencer in a lot of ways, and the way he's able to open up to the Xbox community and gamers at large and just be very relatable. What do you guys think? Like, do you think, obviously it's going to take time with their first party, do we see the results of his work this year, do you guys think, at E3?
Well, probably bits of it, right? I mean, this is also not something...
everything.
Yeah, this isn't something that's overnight, all of a sudden it's a whole new portfolio, right? Yeah, you'll probably, I would guess, like, see at least one, I had that prediction last year about they're going to show so many new IPs of their own, right? But I would bet we see, like, one big new IP. That's like a first or third party, but exclusive to Xbox either way. I you know what I mean? At E3 this year, I could see that, but just that's a bit, right? There's probably a lot of things in the pipeline for the next decade or whatever that will yet to be seen.
Microsoft's doing everything right except producing games. That's the problem. And games sell hardware, and games are the reason why people come to your platform. I mean, if you look at Sony Santa Monica, that was a fledgling studio prior to God of War coming out. They had just tanked a game a couple years prior, and everything's riding on God of War being good. They had to reimagine a game. If you took Halo and reimagined Halo, people might come back to Halo for more than just the multiplayer. They might come back for the story, or they might come back for the game, or Gears. Gears came out, and it was like a whisper after Gears came out. Everybody was really excited, and then nobody really talked about it afterwards.
But yeah, you're right.
But it was a good game, but it just never got pub. So they've got to reimagine games or rethink the way that a 2007 Xbox game looks and make it into 2019, 2020, and make it that.
Yeah, it's tough because obviously PS3 was not in a bad place by any means. It was still doing fine, but we saw them, starting to work towards, The Last of Us and the games we got and the masterpieces that PlayStation has put out. And I think that we've seen the arrogance that Don Matrick had during the 2013 debacle, and it showcased that Xbox, as a division of Microsoft, just didn't really care about producing in-house stuff outside of Halo and Gears. Like, they were just fine with, relying on third parties to sell the platform. And we saw that backfire, obviously. And then Phil Spencer came in I want to say 2015. I could be wrong about that. So that's, 3 years ago? Maybe it was the end of 2014. I could be wrong. It's going to take time, and I think that we do see a tease of a new IP, and I do think we see the announcement of them purchasing a studio. I don't know what studio that is, but I think they're going to have an in-house studio already working on a project that's maybe a year and a half away, and that'll be the new IP. And I think we're going to see them announce the acquisition of a game studio and be like, they're going to be working on something for us. We don't know what yet, or maybe they do know, but they don't want to show it too early. They're going to be like, we acquired this studio. They're going to be making games for us. My dream, and this might be when we get into the E3 predictions next month, is that they have Amy Hennig come out on stage, and Phil Spencer's like, things have been rough for her. We're giving her a team, or we're giving her the right to make her own team, and we're giving her time to make the game she wants to make, and you guys will see it then. and Amy Hennig comes out, says a couple of things, and then walks off stage. Like, having Amy Hennig have a studio and build it herself and be a part of Xbox would be a huge announcement at E3. And people know Amy Hennig, and they'd be like, oh, we're not getting a game right away, but we know what that means, which would be huge. So
yeah, this is kind of like, it's one of those things like, well, they should just make more good first-party games. Like, well, duh.
Like, it's simple.
But you know what I mean? You can. I like to relate this to sports. Like, well, why don't teams just get the next Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and become a dynasty? Like, why don't you just do that? Like,
yeah.
Well, obviously, every team would love to build that, or you know what I mean? Obviously, Xbox would love to have a great portfolio of first-party exclusives and whatever, but it's easier said than done. Like, well, just go make a God of War game that's going to get all these 10 out of 10s. Like, well, you can't just do that, right? It's not.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's a tough thing, and Sony's lucky to have these studios they have. So.
Well, even Nintendo, like Nintendo and Sony don't. They have a history that Xbox doesn't.
Right.
Xbox is way younger than both of those studios and have way less experience. So, yeah.
I think people forget that Sony didn't have first-party games that people gave a damn about for 2 years. But they lived off of third-party games, and now at launch, and now they're hitting on all of those first-party games that everybody had been waiting for. Xbox just doesn't have. I mean, Sea of Thieves. I mean, good game, but not a system seller. And that game at $60, a lot of people are still complaining about it, and the following has dwindled heavily on that game. And then as far as games that are coming out for Xbox for the rest of the year, what else is coming out? Crackdown, they haven't even spoken about in months.
State of Decay 2, I think, will be received critically well, but that's not a AAA game. That's not the game that's going to move units, so.
No.
I think it is weird listening to them talk about like how it's taking time and stuff. These first-party studios and even just the exclusives that Sony has had have been around for a very long time. It's something that they've cultivated since the mid-90s with the PS1. And it's just weird to me because Microsoft's always had that. They just haven't ever emphasized it in the same way that Sony or even Nintendo has. So I get what Phil Spencer's trying to say, like, hey, it takes time, but it's like, well, really, if you had done it right, kind of the way it's supposed to be, I think, is the way that Nintendo and Sony do it, then you'd be there already. This is not like Xbox is not Ouya or some, like, startup. They've been around for long enough to where if you guys had been cultivating this, then there wouldn't be any discrepancy between the amount of titles that are first party.
I think they could get a huge boost. I know, Jared, you suggested it before, like from an existing IP, right? Like if they were to get something Marvel exclusive, like Sony just got with Spider-Man, that I think is an easy like jump in that direction, right? Like we got to get something recognizable that everyone already loves, and it's also still got to be good, right? I mean, again, you can't just make a good game, like it's no big deal, but if they could get like an Avengers game exclusive or something like that, that would be a good quick boost in that direction for them, I think.
Yeah, and there was that interview. It was either earlier this year or late last year. Jordan and Dom, you can remind me when we covered it on the show. But do you guys remember when Phil Spencer had that long interview with GameIndustry.biz? I think it was GameIndustry.biz, and he was talking about how like the corporate culture was terrible at Xbox and Microsoft, and it was actually in the main news of like them having to restructure everything, and it wasn't a healthy working environment. And it just seems like, and there's even been reports of Microsoft not really putting money into Xbox and letting it thrive more. And I think now we're kind of seeing that with the corporate turnover with Phil Spencer being one of the main pillars of Microsoft, being in that main boardroom. They're seeing how important their gaming division is, and we've seen that we've been told that there's a recent influx of money and resources that are being put into Xbox. So I wouldn't be surprised if they come out and acquire some major names that we don't expect them to acquire. Will they be the EAs and the Valves? No, not even close. But I do think some studios that we don't even expect that could get snatched up. Microsoft has a lot of resources, and if they want to go hard on something, they can. And they have the benefit of having the technology to make their infrastructure for their systems, for their hardware really good. Like Chris said, they just need to back that up now with the games over the next couple of years to make people really want to buy an Xbox again. So we'll see.
Well, he's quite literally got a seat at the table now, and that's very important.
Yeah, that's huge.
Very important.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I have two quick points. One, when it comes to new IPs, they've already tried that route with Sunset Overdrive, and it didn't work out. So I feel bad. And they also tried to make a push for an exclusive in Tomb Raider. That didn't work out. The problem is they rested on 3 names: Fable, Halo, and Gears, and that's all they ever had back in that time frame. And they didn't bother to like continually make new IPs even 8 years ago. So at this point, those are their 3 IPs. So it's really difficult. Where Sony was manufacturing games like Bloodborne and games like that they're not even first-party studios, but they snatched up these type games and they hit. Microsoft didn't do that in a time period when they could have, and now it's a lot more difficult to make those kind of things happen.
Yeah, also, though, like, as good as Sunset Overdrive was, I don't really think that game was a tremendous game. I don't think that game is necessarily a system seller or a marquee exclusive IP, if that makes sense. Sunset Overdrive, to me, is the game you add to an already existing great catalog. It's not something that's going to be...
It's a side dish.
Exactly. It's not going to be the next big franchise. And as far as Tomb Raider, that's a weird one, too, because I think what their play was like, this is going to be our Uncharted. I think the problem is they didn't go full in on Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider was exclusive for a year both times, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's different than having your own exclusive IP. Even if people hear it's not coming out for a year on another system, that doesn't reign the same as, oh, I'm never going to get to play the new God of War. Ever.
How sad for them that they test drove Sunset Overdrive's engine and got all of the mechanics down, and now Sony snatched them up and we're like, okay, yeah, now make Spider-Man.
See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Spider-Man and then Bloodborne's another good example of like Sony being active and like going to a studio like, hey, to From Software, like, make us a version of Dark Souls, do something different with it, and it's ours. We'll sign you for it. Make this game on our system, and then going to what are they called? Insomniac. Like, let's make a Spider-Man game, you guys. We'll publish it. It'll be great. Like, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, there's something to be said for Sony's allowance for creativity. In some ways, it works out really well for them. Spider-Man, Bloodborne, examples that you just mentioned.
Horizon.
Last of Us, Horizon. But then in other ways, they let games like The Last Guardian go on way too long. And now even Dreams, you're seeing that, where sometimes they're a little bit too loose, too laissez-faire with allowing.
So they're probably eating money on that shit.
Right, exactly. But I would say it works out well enough, often enough, that they're making enough money on their Last of Us and Horizon type deals that they can let things like their very own Studio Japan do Gravity Rush 2, which was never going to be a huge seller, but they can let that happen because of their other bigger games.
Yeah, and
they let that other game go really long. What was that first party studio game that bombed in like the middle of February, like the second year in, like what something 1842 or 1542 or whatever?
Order 1886.
Order 1886.
Yeah, Order 18. Yeah,
it's a second
party exclusive. But that game bombed.
Great game, though.
I mean, that wasn't it was a good game, but like it just didn't do well.
People
but they
shat on it.
took a risk. Yeah, they let that studio play forever on that game, and then they put it out, and it didn't do
half
well.
a game.
The crazy thing too, like Sunset Overdrive being more of like a side dish, I think with Order 1886, I think that would do way better as a console launch game than like middle of the life cycle. But going back to Xbox, I think another huge issue they had was everyone was up in arms when Scalebound got canceled. My honest opinion, I'm glad it got canceled because I think that they saw the reading in the tea leaves, and I think Phil Spencer didn't want another Sunset Overdrive, which wasn't a bad game but didn't do very well, or even worst case scenario, a Recore where it was an exclusive that just wasn't a very good game. And I would rather have them cancel a game that they can already kind of see that this isn't going to end well. What if he felt that it was going to be, we're going to put another 5 years of development money into this for what could potentially be a subpar game? The problem with that, the problem why Scalebound hurt fans so much is because it was the only kind of new IP we saw in the foreseeable future, Sure. It wasn't like they had a stable and they're knocking one of these pillars down. It was like, this is one of the only pillars and they're getting rid of it. And I think that's the thing is they need to not only introduce a new IP or new things, they need to introduce a host or a house of those. And I think the way they do it is not by necessarily building new teams, but acquiring already existing talented studios. People forget that Bluepoint isn't owned by Sony. It'd be crazy to imagine a world where Microsoft picks up Bluepoint if they're able to be purchased. Like, there's studios out there that can make great games.
Yeah, there's tons of them. There's tons of them.
They blew it on Rise. They had a shot with Rise. They could have picked up that property, and they chose not to take it.
Yeah.
I think they've been betting on the wrong horses because they've got stuff like Rise, Scalebound from Platinum. You got stuff like Recore. I mean, they have exclusives, but they're just not necessarily good or anywhere near the quality bar that Sony and Nintendo.
And the worst part is the bets, I think, weren't the greatest bets, but like look who they bet on. They bet on, correct me if I'm wrong, ReCore was being made by the guy who originally designed Mega Man, correct?
Well, it's Keiji Inafune is like most closely associated with Mega Man, but he wasn't the creator.
Well, yeah, but the guy behind Mega Man, so like, oh, we're gonna have this guy create a platformer for us. That didn't really turn out too well, and we saw the same thing happen with Scalebound with Platinum. It's like people love a lot of Platinum's games, but Platinum is hit or miss with their games. Some of them are cult classics and loved, and some of them are just not good games. And
Legend of Korra.
Yeah, we saw the reports that they were mishandling Scalebound. It seemed like, anyways, from the reports. So, yeah, I just think they need to come out with a stable, and we'll see what happens. But like I said, I'm glad that Phil Spencer is as candid and open as he is because they have all the resources. He just needs to get the games there, and I have faith. We'll see. You never know what happens.
Real quick, is Crackdown still a game?
It is.
Yeah, Crackdown's going to be coming out. I just don't think they're spending a lot of time on it because I think my theory is that it was planning to come out last year and it was going to be a hollow shell of a game, and people responded like super well to Terry Crews and that whole thing at the beginning. Remember when he was like doing the Terry Crews thing? And I honestly think that they went back and were injecting in like, oh, Terry Crews is going to be a part of this game now. He wasn't a part of the game before, but I think people responded so much to that. Like, the one thing that Crackdown misses, and even the first two entries, is personality. I think the games are fun to play in. They're not great, but they're fun, and they lack like personality. And I think Terry Crews is like the perfect medicine for that. And I think they saw the response and saw how much people loved him. So like, we're gonna just put this baby back in the oven for a bit. And I think they're injecting Terry Crews into that game as a character, obviously.
Put this baby back in the oven.
Yeah.
How many babies have you put in an oven, Jerry?
Zero.
What the fuck?
We were going to be covering the BioWare story, but we're running a little long, so I think I'm just going to cut out. I don't think we really had a whole lot to say there. Neither did they. So let's talk about the story.
Ooh, slammed up.
Let's talk about the big topic from Polygon. Chris Plant writes over there, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 won't have traditional single-player campaign. I'm going to briefly touch on some of the parts in the story. If you want to go read the entire story, it's pretty interesting. But basically what it comes down to is that there's rumors and reports via Reset Era and game industry outlets that Black Ops 4 won't have a traditional single-player campaign. It's not going to be because they didn't want to. What the rumor states is that they were running out of time creating the single-player campaign and finishing it, so they had to divert and come up with another plan of action. And apparently what that plan of action is that Raven is going to be working on a Battle Royale mode, and on top of that, it's not going to have 100 people, it's going to have less than that. They're targeting 100, and that they're going to make the meat of the game the zombies and multiplayer mode, and the zombies and the Battle Royale mode that is assumedly on the way is going to make up for the lack of single player. There's a lot to go on in this conversation. Black Ops not having a single player, a lot of that stuff. We can take this conversation however you guys want to. What I want to start off with is like, I don't think this is shocking or surprising. We've kind of seen this, happening with Call of Duty. People rarely buy Call of Duty for the single-player campaign anymore. I think they're far and few between. I think Dom, and a couple of other people are
rare.
Are a small portion of the audience. And yeah, it makes sense that they would ditch it because single-player campaigns, with the craftsmanship and value that and the quality that Activision puts into them for Call of Duty. You may not agree with the narrative being good, but the polish is really great, and those take a lot of money. And if you see a large portion of your audience isn't playing that game mode, why would you invest in it? It's very interesting. Side note, I have friends that I play with. Some of these friends I play PUBG with that I mentioned earlier that will literally tell me, why would I buy that game if it only has why would I buy that game if it's only single player for $60? That's a waste of money. And in my head, I'm like, that's crazy to me. Well, that's just the way a lot of people think nowadays. Yeah. Like, if a game is just single player, they don't see the value in that. And for me, it's like, well, $60, I'm not paying $60 for 8 hours specifically. That's not how that works for me. There's a lot of value in a great narrative and stuff. It's very weird to me, but that's how a lot of people think nowadays. And for them, it's like, why would I buy Call of Duty for the story? You're dumb. I'm going to be playing multiplayer all the time, And to us, it's like, that's weird, but to a large portion of the audience, it's not. So what do you guys want to talk about with this? It's pretty big news, but I wouldn't say it's surprising.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, it would have been Halo 5, I think, or it might have been Gears 4, where they dropped the local co-op.
That was Halo 5.
Yeah.
Halo 5.
And so this is like a larger, I think, version of that. But yeah, people were like furious, or, you know, a subset of people were furious that Halo was dropping local co-op, because that was such a big part of what Halo originally was, right? And they must have seen, like, well, it's not really getting used anymore, because people play online more, even if they're doing co-op. But yeah, so it's got to be like you're saying, right? They have the data. They're seeing people every year less and less playing the campaign. Why are we going to put the resources and the money into it? The other theory that got brought up, we don't know. I think the validity of it is that they didn't have enough time, which would be an even more interesting twist on this story. I guess we don't know if that was the case or not, but I don't know. I think this is kind of like a landmark type of thing where, like, you know, when Call of Duty does something like this, well, you know, other big shooters probably are going to start to follow suit, you imagine, if it goes, you know, well for them. But I don't know. I just bought, you know, the last Call of Duty and played only the single player, and it was pretty darn good. And the irony is that was the first Call of Duty game I played in, you know, half a decade or something. So, and then as soon as I do that, then they start dropping single player. So, I don't know.
On the opposite end of the, I think this would be an even larger announcement if we didn't have the only single player shooters coming out too. Like Wolfenstein 2 happened, you know, so like it's literally the opposite spectrum of that. So though we're losing single player in Call of Duty, which is hit or miss for a lot of people in the recent era of Call of Duty, we still have the Wolfenstein 2. So you're not losing a core part of, like, you know, the games industry. So
you know what, I'm gonna call back, because actually, I think it is pretty likely that they planned on having a single player here and it just didn't make it, or whatever the issue, because this is Black Ops 4. You know, this isn't like a new, you know, this isn't a new something warfare. There's like an existing story that's, I mean, the first Black Ops had a really cool story.
It does seem a bit fishy.
Yeah.
It does seem a little bit fishy, especially because, like, how many fucking Call of Duty games do we have, and they've been able to hit it every year? I kind of feel like this might be a springboard to just say, yeah, we're not doing stories anymore. And if you see how, you know, kind of gauge the audience.
And if you guys forget, there was that rumor a month ago that it was going to include, that Black Ops 4 was going to include Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, and that wasn't going to have multiplayer. So I wonder if that rumor was actually leading towards Black Ops 4 not having single player, and it was just like a weird, you know, they got it backwards. Yeah, Chris, do you play Call of Duty for the story? What's your take on this?
Yeah, I'm not a big multiplayer fan as far as Call of Duty is concerned. I think they're kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. I mean, if you remember, Battlefront got a big dump taken on them by EA for not having a story in their game, and people were off their rocker because, what is it? It's just a multiplayer game? This is ridiculous. I'm paying $60. And then all of a sudden they put a story in their game, and then everybody was bitching and moaning, the story's terrible. Why did they even have a story in this game? So they can't win. You know that Call of Duty produces great multiplayer, and the gunplay is going to be fantastic. The zombie thing is now a thing because of Call of Duty. Yeah. So, you know, it's in every game. Battle Royales are hot right now. My question is what are they going to charge for it? Are they going to charge full $60 for this for a multiplayer game?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I mean,
yeah, they're definitely going to charge $60.
If they charge $60, they're going to see a huge dip in people playing the game, or people are going to wait to see what they're going to push hard. That's the thing they're going to show. They're not going to show the multiplayer. They're going to show the Battle Royale stuff up front. Like, this is what you're getting with the game.
I think
I could totally
$60 and you get a trophy for watching your friends open fucking loot boxes.
I could totally see them leading with pre-order now for exclusive access to the Battle Royale beta. Like, I can completely see that Call of Duty advertising.
I think
it writes itself.
Man, they have a choice, because, like, precedent would say, like, yep, they're going to charge $60 for the same thing with no single player. But if you remember back when they did Modern Warfare, whatever, Call of Duty 4 remastered or whatever, but you could only get it if you bought the $80 version of Infinite Warfare.
Yep.
And they didn't release it standalone until way later, and it was still $40.
Yep.
They caught a lot of flack for that, I feel like. In that year, Infinite Warfare,
don't care.
You know, didn't sell as well, I think, as they would have liked. So, again, I'm with you. I doubt they care. But if they were wise, they would at least consider, like, this is a choice that they're going to have to make. If they're going no single player, like, they should hopefully at least think about it, because they could get hit. I mean, gamers are fucking fickle, and bitch and you know what I mean, and we thumbs down YouTube videos, but like Battlefront 2, it all turned into a lack of sales. You piss off gamers, they would be wise to be careful with what they do with the price on this.
You have a higher chance of Battlefront 2 going free to play than Activision putting less than $60 on a Call of Duty game. It's a top-selling game every year. It's coming out a month before Red Dead Redemption 2. It's not going to be less than $60. I would love to live in a world where it is, but it's not. Like you said, right. To your point, they put the remaster behind it, and they made you pay $80. They don't care.
You also don't know what a battle royale for Call of Duty looks like, because PlayerUnknown was pissed off at Fortnite for robbing the same exact formula, but said, if somebody reimagined it, I probably wouldn't be as pissed off, because guess what? I stole it from Arma, and they, begat. So if Call of Duty comes out with a 50-player version and it's badass and it's just a complete reimagining of what battle royale looks like on a Halo scale when we first started playing Halo, right? Then all of a sudden this goes away and everybody is all over it and nobody cares.
And here's the interesting. So, real quick. Battlefield's biggest thing to contribute to the Battle Royale market is going to be destructible environments and really cool vehicles, right? And horses and stuff, right? That's going to be their contribution. You being able to ride a horse, destroy a bunch of stuff, maybe get in a tank or a small kind of vehicle or something, right? Halo's contribution is obviously Battle Royale, super sci-fi, same thing with the vehicles and different environment kind of things. Call of Duty's contribution, they have some of the best gameplay in the industry as far as gunplay, but they're not known for having big maps, so it's kind of hard to see where their innovation will lie. It's I think Call of Duty has the highest percentage of being the one that's like, hey, you want some loot boxes to give you a better start in your match? You know what I mean? And that's what I'm worried about personally. Of they're going to inject microtransactions into it to the point where it affects more than just cosmetics.
You gotta think they're smarter than that, but you're probably right. Mm-hmm. You gotta think they see what's going on. And they wouldn't, but fuck. They
had nasty microtransaction stuff in Call of Duty World War II. They actually released the microtransaction stuff a month after the game's release, and no one complained about it. They know how to handle this stuff and divert attention. It's a best-selling game every year.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask, are they going to do that same sly shit where they release the microtransactions after everybody reviews the game?
Yeah.
Because you gotta hand it to him, man. That was some sly shit.
All I know is, no matter what goes down, I'm gonna have to probably reevaluate my bet with Blessing. Because shit.
What was your bet? What was your bet again?
I bet him that Black Ops 4 would sell more copies this year than Red Dead 2.
I think you're still good on that.
I don't know.
I think even no matter what this happens.
Yeah. No, you're still good on that.
This is Treyarch, right?
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. The positive note is that Infinity Ward was the main studio for Call of Duty, right, with the Modern Warfare era, and they were nailing it. And then obviously Vince Zampella and his studio, they left after the whole lawsuit and everything, and they formed Respawn. And since then, Treyarch has been the baby of Activision in terms of Call of Duty. Black Ops was a hit. Black Ops 2 sold a ton. Black Ops 3 sold a ton. It's their best-selling franchise. I think Treyarch can deliver some really great, innovative stuff along with Raven. I'm just worried that Activision is going to use it to the worst, especially with them not having a single-player campaign. I'm worried about it, but there are some awesome things to be a little bit optimistic about. I don't know.
What if this?
The other thing that worries me is how does it affect the other studios? Because this is a chain reaction. Yeah. They pull out the single player. Now all other have to pull that out, and are they prepared to play with a battle royale, and be able to create something like that? It takes away all creativity. Yeah. All creativity.
And the crazy thing too is that Treyarch makes the Black Ops games, which are a little bit more future set, right? Not super crazy to Advanced Warfare and Infinite Warfare. I would have loved to see Battle Royale in World War II, where it's you strip away a lot of the tech and stuff, and it's you get on here and it's very bare bones. That would be, for Call of Duty, obviously, that would have been cooler to see if they introduced Battle Royale into a World War II type setting of Call of Duty, rather than the Black Ops 4, because there's going to be so many crazy things. You're going to get the 420 belts and the weed shirts and all what's going to happen, dude. You're going to be playing Battle Royale.
Happy holidays.
People are going to have dab emotes, and it's going to be a thing.
With Red Dead coming out too, they might just thought to themselves, "Hey, this is the time to do it. If we're gonna do it, might as well go and see what happens." Because worst case scenario is we come back hard next year when Red Dead isn't out, and it's our comeback story. Blah blah blah. We're back. We're better than ever. Blah blah. But if they try it and it works, they're like, "Oh, we hit it. all right, let's keep going.
And I think Black Ops is the franchise that they can test this out of all of them because it is the longest running one. And I think they're like, if it's going to work with any of them, it's going to be Black Ops 4. You know what I mean? People love Black Ops for the story, but they really love it for the multiplayer for the most part. I think 3 was kind of hit or miss. I know people loved 1 and 2, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's interesting. Closing words on this. Do you guys? I know people are worried about this, and it could have a chain reaction for the studios, like you said. Do you think this is going to, have a bigger effect, or do you think this is just it's Activision handling Call of Duty? It won't have any other ramifications.
Dude, no, this is huge. This is gonna reverberate. I mean, the other Call of Duty studios, the rest of the industry, like whatever they do here, it's gonna affect things in some way.
Well, do you think this is going to be another way for Battlefield to separate itself from Call of Duty and say, no, we're still going to include a single-player campaign?
Yeah, they'll probably market it that way. It reminds me of...
We're going to have Battle Royale and a single-player. We're going to have both,
Right. It reminds me back when you put it that way, PS4 and Xbox One launch, like, Xbox One says, oh, you can't share games, so PS4, like, quickly says, oh, here's how you share games with us, right? So
Shuhei and Adam boys, yeah.
In reaction to them not, so I could see that Call of Duty pulls single player. Battlefield's like, hey guys, we still got single player, yo. Like,
yeah.
And this speaks really loudly about what Battle Royale is. It's not a fad. If Call of Duty is putting it into a game, it's all of a sudden it becomes a mainstream thing. It's already mainstream with Fortnite and PUBG, but we're hitting AAA games now.
It's like when your parents are sharing memes. You're like, oh yeah, it's over now.
Yeah. Oh God, Mom's on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. Jordan, any closing words on this whole situation? I know you're not a big Call of Duty guy, but any thoughts on this?
Not really. I'm definitely interested to see how that goes in the future. What the next couple COD games look like.
Jordan's like, whatever. Yeah. Just give me my Japanese single player games. Let's fucking go.
Question for Chris and Dom: if they were to ever release the single player campaign as a $30 standalone product, would you purchase that? That's what you basically did now, right, Dom?
Yeah. Yeah. Shit.
Yeah.
I think they're holding it in their back pocket. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's DLC.
Interesting.
Really
yeah, you mentioned that. I could see that. Something along those lines.
Do you think it's going to be like standalone, though? Like you could purchase it without owning Black Ops 4? Or do you think they're going to make you own Black Ops 4?
Yeah. No. They want you to own a Black Ops 4 in order to own the standalone because that's how they'll draw people in. If that comes out 6 to 8 months later and that's the DLC and all of a sudden you get a story mode with it, you can get it, but you have to own the game. Oh, okay, so I'll buy the... At that point, they can sell it for $59.99 because they've already made enough money 6 months down the road, and you still get the DLC added. It's almost like getting the DLC for free.
My only side to that in terms of business is that if you're already cutting it because not a lot of people play it, the people that own the game, why would you make people own the game to buy the thing that the people who own the game already aren't playing? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it would make more sense for me. That was a word vomit there. Yeah. It would make more sense for me if they made it standalone. Hey, play the Black Ops 4 story if you enjoy it enough. Come buy the $60 version with all the cool stuff, the Battle Royale, the multiplayer, It could go either way. It's Activision, though, so I assume it's going to be DLC.
I think it's not impossible. I wouldn't bet on it, but maybe something here is free, right? Maybe they try to carve into Fortnite and have something free. Because that's, like you were saying earlier, Jared, like, Fortnite's really successful largely because it's free, right? And a lot of kids... Yeah. I think Fortnite, a lot of those players are the Call of Duty market, right? Like, a lot of those kids playing Fortnite right now. Are they going to ditch it to buy a $60 game, which all of a sudden they don't feel like they have to do anymore because Fortnite is free? Not impossible.
Yeah.
They might switch something up, go real crazy like that. I don't know.
I think that's it for this episode, though. We're going to close out the show now, talk about what we're going to be playing. Wolfenstein 2, obviously. Ultra Moon. Chris, are you into Pokemon at all?
I am not.
I completely understand. Yeah, don't worry about it. I was just going to ask you about Ultra Moon if you had any experience with it. For me, I'm not sure how far along I am in it because obviously it's not the normal 8 gym badges as Pokemon games usually are. So I'm not sure how far along I am in it, but I'm going to be continuing with that. Obviously, I don't have a PS4, so I can't play God of War, so I won't be joining you guys on that adventure.
Womp.
But I'm going to be dodging spoilers left and right. I'm going to be dodging them until I get my PS4, which I'm not necessarily getting it end of August, beginning of September before Spider-Man. I'm going to see when the best time to strike is and when there's a really good deal. So it could be next month. Yeah. It could be, so I don't know. We'll see. That's pretty much it for me. Going to continue my MCU rewatch. So Avengers Infinity War comes out next Wednesday, right, for early screenings, Jordan?
Thursday.
Is it Thursday? Why did I think Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I guess we won't record before watching that, unfortunately. Yeah, that's it for me. So what about you guys?
God of War.
That's going to be the answer for all of you guys.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm freaking pumped, man. I was like so on this, you know. We talked about it. I was like, yeah, it looks like it could be cool. I don't know. I don't really like God of War games, but man, the past like week or two, like reading the coverage on this, I'm like, holy shit! Apparently, there's something here. I got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they really nailed it. And you guys know I love the series already, so I'm very excited to play it because I would have been cool with another God of War in the Greek pantheon, but now they've switched it up so much, and Norse mythology is so flippin' interesting that we'll have to see how this goes. I'd love to see, several years from now, if we have a couple more God of War games, and one of them's the Egyptian pantheon of gods, and then the Indian Hindu stuff. Like, there's just so many places you could go with this, and
Mayan.
I'm really excited to see where they go. Yeah, exactly. Lots of cool stuff you can do.
Yeah, I mean, none of you guys played Smite, right? The free-to-play MOBA. That game, like, obviously I'm familiar with Greek and Roman mythology, but they pull on all the different mythologies around the world, and you learn about all of these like characters and gods you never knew about. There's some really interesting, cool things that they could do if they ventured that way, Jordan. Have any of you read Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology? No?
Norse mythology?
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of people post, like, in preparation for God of War, I'm picking this up and reading it. And I was like, oh, interesting. I wonder if anybody had read it yet. So, any of you guys, obviously.
So it's like him writing a fictional story within the world of Norse mythology?
I have done zero research on it, Jordan. I'm being completely honest with you. All I know is that it's Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology.
I appreciate the honesty.
And people are reading it. That's literally all I know. So
it has pages.
Yeah.
It exists.
Well, I think I mentioned last week that I've been reading his Sandman comic series, and I'm enjoying that
Mr.
very
Sandman.
much. He does do a lot of stuff with.
Enter my dreams.
He does do a lot of stuff with mythology there too. So I'm sure he's great.
Give
with
me
that,
your dreams.
or great with that Norse book. But besides God of War, which I'm very excited about, I'm also, like I was saying last week, the hype for Infinity War grows with every second that passes. So I'm excited about that.
Fucking nerds.
And we got, I guess, it'll be this week. Yeah, it's this coming Sunday is Westworld Season 2 premiere. So we'll see how that goes. And especially since they're going to go to Bushido World this season.
Oh, I love
with the
Westworld.
samurai.
no spoilers. I'm trying to catch up in time, guys. I'm trying my hardest.
I've only seen that first episode.
Well, that's not a spoiler. They're just going to go to one of the different
Oh,
parts.
no. That's not spoiler. I'm just saying,
So
don't spoil anything.
yeah, I won't mention
Yeah.
anything. Yeah. And other than that, I hope everyone has a great holiday.
Awesome. Chris, what about you? Are you going to grow out your beard in preparation for God of War?
Right. I can't wait for God of War. Give me like a Last of Us feel with that axe that comes back just like Thor's hammer, and I'm all in. Like as soon as I saw that, I'm like, yep, I don't want to know anything else. I haven't watched any videos. I haven't seen anything else on that. I blacked out on that whole entire thing. So I'm excited about playing it tonight. Infinity War, literally the hype grows every day. Like every time they show like another trailer or something else, I'm just like, yes, who's gonna die? Somebody's dying in this. Who's gonna die in this? And I love Westworld. I did a podcast last year. We did episode by episode, on a recast on it, and we're gonna do it again this year. So I'm pumped up about Westworld season 2.
Awesome. So before we close out the show, we've never done this before, but I want to do it with you, Chris. I'm going to give you some rapid-fire questions. Answer them as quickly as possible. There's no time limit or anything, but just kind of be quick about it. I'm just going to give you a question. Give me the first answer or the best answer or the actual answer.
So, Jared, before we even do that, could we all just take a quick guess at who dies in Infinity War?
Negan.
Okay. God. I'm gonna say everyone but Doctor Strange dies. Or you mean like for
What the fuck?
You mean because of they're gonna do time manipulation? Do you mean like stay dead by the end of the movie or die in the movie?
Oh, you think they're gonna die and by the end of it they'll be alive?
Well, I think it's gonna be timeline stuff. Yeah. So are you talking about by the end of the movie? I'll just keep it by the end of the movie.
No, I'm saying like at the end of Infinity War, which character is dead? I'd say Captain America.
I say Cap as well. Yeah. I say so. My list includes Cap, War Machine. I actually have a list. Hold on. You can go ahead, Chris. I'm going to pull up this list that I have.
If they're going to do it, I think they're going to do a big one. So I don't think it's going to be Black Widow or War Machine. I think it's going to be Cap or Iron Man.
It's not going to be like Abraham or something.
I don't think they're going to go with Thor. I think Thor sticks around just because I think he wants to continue being Thor. So, and I know Chris Evans is like ready to be on his way out anyway. So I would say...
I heard someone saying that Hemsworth is a big surfer and he just wants to surf.
Really?
He's about done. Yeah, his like contract's up, and he's like, "Man, I just want to surf."
I can see a couple of Guardian Galaxy like minor characters being knocked out pretty quick.
Drax is a heavy favorite.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna keep the Guardians together for sure.
Future movies are a big teller of who's gonna stick around.
I could totally see Hulk replacing Drax on that lineup, though. Personally, so my number one bet is Captain America and Loki. I think Loki. I think Loki dies in the Power Stone scene or Space Stone scene. Sorry.
But do we know whether or not they're actual gods?
No, they're not. They're not gods. They can,
because Loki has the line of like the mortals think us gods.
Odin explains it off in the terrible Thor Dark World, and I think something else where he says they think we're gods because they didn't know any better. We just live longer than they do. Like they have powers and stuff, but they're not technically.
So they're like demigods.
Yeah, they're not immortal though. They die. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess Odin did die in Ragnarok. Or
spoilers.
I love the fact that this is a two-parter though, because so you know it's going to cut someplace, and then you're just like. Whoa.
So the easy dream scenario is they cut on the snap. I don't think it'll cut on that though. I think it'll cut on something else. Like if he gets the gauntlet, snaps, and then cuts to black, that'd be pretty insane. Yeah. So let's get to the rapid fire questions real quick.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Favorite game, Chris?
Mario 64.
Oh, good one.
Favorite Star Wars character?
Han Solo.
Last Jedi, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. Thank you.
Friends?
That's a real Star Wars fan for you, boys.
Friends or Seinfeld?
Friends.
Awesome. Yeah. You won Jordan, then you lost Jordan there.
Yeah, we're not friends anymore.
Yeah, so that was episode 94. Thank you again, Chris, for joining us. If people want to know where they can find you, where can they look you up and follow you and do all that good stuff?
I'm on Twitter at Topher Nunes, TOPHERNUNES.
Awesome. Anywhere else? Just Twitter?
Just Twitter right now. I'm working my way back into games writing. I stepped away for a little bit, but I'm itching to get back in, so...
Awesome, great. You can follow us, as always. I'm at Jared_. Dom is at Dom's Oreos. Jordan is at Melomotus. If you can, please follow us on iTunes and leave a review. It definitely helps us out. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Even if you don't watch the videos and you listen to us through the audio version of the podcast, it helps. The numbers growing definitely helps us out. I'm currently also playing a game that's under embargo that I'll talk about next week. Not a huge game or anything, but an interesting game nonetheless. That's pretty much it. We'll catch you guys next time. Thank you again, Chris, for joining us. And we'll see you guys in episode 95.